I think it's a dangerous situation to entangle your life with someone that you're not married to.
What would you advise women who maybe aren't in a divorce situation yet, or maybe thinking down the line somewhere? What piece of advice could you give them that they should start doing for themselves that could help the process?
Being a lawyer gives you power. You have a skill set and knowledge that most of the general population doesn't have, and that's really powerful. And you should use those powers for good.
A lot of people say that, well, you only have to deal with them till they're 18. There still are kids after 18. Can you just quickly explain the difference and the meaning of having a legally binding marriage in the state of California versus not, and what that means? Hi, everybody. Welcome to Empowered with Gina podcast. We're doing a virtual edition today because I was able to schedule the one, the only Holly J. Moore. And when I talk about an empowered, insightful, resourceful woman who is out there breaking barriers, not only for herself, but for families and people in the community, this woman is doing it. And we actually have not met in person. So this is our first time meeting virtually with you. True. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Gina. Oh my gosh, you're making me blush. What an intro. Thank you so much. It takes one to know one, you know?
It's true, and I accept that, so thank you. So, Holly, I always start my podcast by asking my guests to describe themselves with 3 adjectives. There's no wrong answer, so.
Ooh, okay. Powerful, relentless, and so fun.
I love, yes. Before you were Holly J. Moore, the powerhouse, tell me where you grew up, who was young Holly, and did you ever see yourself in that seat?
I grew up in a very tiny mountain town in between Tahoe and Yosemite called Twainhart. And yes, yes. And let's see, I was a difficult child, so I'm told by my parents. You know, not in like a getting into trouble kind of way. I was a very good kid, very good girl. But, you know, I think just like intellectually difficult. And my mom always told me, like, this is going to serve you so well as an adult. I had a wonderful childhood. My parents were amazing, still are amazing, very supportive, very fun, still married to this day. I had a big brother our family was very into skiing, and my brother was a professional ski racer, Olympic level ski racer. I also did a lot of skiing, so that was really like what we did with our whole lives. When I was 16, my brother was killed in a car accident. And so that tragedy really has shaped like a lot of who I am today, why I do what I do, you know, why I'm so driven to always, you know, I don't know, either overcome his shadow or make him proud or something. There's something there, Gina. I haven't fully unpacked it yet, but, you know.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 16.
Oh my gosh. He was 16 as well?
He was 19.
Oh, okay. I thought when he was 16. I'm sorry to hear that. That's traumatizing. And I'm sure the trauma lives on. You know, it's in a different form.
In a different form, yes. Yes, we try to use those things for good, though, you know?
And you are a trauma like that, coupled with being an adolescent, coupled with your, you know, coming from a smaller community town, how important was education pushed in your household? And where did you take that information?
That's a really interesting question because neither of my parents went to college. They are both, my dad has a heating and air conditioning business and he's done really well with it, but you know, he doesn't have a college degree. My mom, you know, did various things as I got older. She became a flight attendant. So neither of my parents graduated from college. However, I don't ever remember me going or not going to college as like a choice or an option. I mean, the way it was talked about in our household was like, you definitely go to college.
Okay.
So I don't remember that being like even an option. And I don't remember thinking, will I go to college or will I won't go to college? It was always like, you definitely will go to college, which is kind of interesting when I think about it now. But then I went on to law school and became a lawyer, and there are no other lawyers in my family. Like my parents are kind of like, where did you come from? So, so I wouldn't say like higher education in terms of law school or graduate school. Like that wasn't really pushed as, in our household. But I would say college was always just kind of like a foregone conclusion.
Got it. When you were in college, or at what point did you realize, hey, there's something called law school and I might want to be a lawyer? Where did that come from?
That came when I was like 5 years old. And I don't really know how or why, because again, like my parents are not lawyers. Nobody in my family was a lawyer. I think somehow, some way I got the idea that and of course, this is me as a 45-year-old having done a lot of coaching and personal development and thinking back, like, why am I here? This is that answer. I wasn't thinking this when I was 5, but somehow, some way, I think I recognize that, like, with, being a lawyer gives you power. You have a skill set and knowledge that most of the general population doesn't have, and that's really powerful. And you should use those powers for good. But I've always liked power.
Same.
Yeah, don't say.
It's like an accessory.
Yes.
So you had this trajectory. You go to, what college did you go to? What law school?
I went to Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. A smaller like private university in San Diego. And then I went to Western State for law school in Orange County.
And then what did you do as soon as you were out? Because there's a lot of people that watch my podcast who have no relation to the law at all. And so if you could, in layman's term, break down what your trajectory was after law school.
After law school, so I had, through law school, they had like an externship program, and where you could get credits but actually go and work at a law firm. And so I did that. I worked at a law firm that was a very strange combination. One of the partners did construction defect. The other partner did family law, which is like a very unusual combination. So when I first got the job there, I was doing construction defect. And, you probably know Gina because you're a lawyer and you have a law firm and all the things, but like construction defect is a lot of paperwork. It's like heavy civil litigation. And I hated it. I just hated it. And then, and so through the course of like being in law school, doing the externship there, not really enjoying that type of civil litigation, the other partner was like, well, I do family law. Why don't you try and see if that's a better fit? Come work with me. And instantly it was such a better fit for me. I had a lot of contact with clients, and I really felt like I was helping. Like on the other side, I didn't feel like it was helping anything. And I was like really disillusioned actually about it, thinking I am like racking up a ton of student loans to just like sue people for no apparent reason, because in that field, it's like a lot of really wealthy land developers suing really large sub companies, like literally for no reason. Like they don't like each other. So it's like, Holly, find something to sue him over. So when I did family law, it like felt so good to my soul. I felt like I was actually helping people. Like maybe my student loans would be worth it. And so I always knew that I wanted to have my own business, because my dad had his own business and he was like at every single volleyball game, swim meet. Like he had a lot of flexibility because of that. And so I knew from a very young age, I wanted to have my own business. But I always kind of thought, I'll work at a firm for 5 or 10 years. I will learn how to be a lawyer. I'll learn all the things I need to learn. And then I will go and open my own firm. Well, like 3 months after I passed the bar, that firm wasn't a super well-run firm. And so they oftentimes could not pay me. And, it's just sort of a myriad of things that sort of stacked up. And I just thought one day, like, there's really no benefit to staying here. I'm actually not getting paid. Like there's no stability of a paycheck here. They're just kind of throwing me into cases and I'm learning on my own, which is actually super valuable. I'm not mad about it. But I thought I could really just do that same exact thing with my own practice. So 3 months after I passed the bar, I opened my firm.
Oh my gosh. And the rest is history. You had how much family law experience at that point?
So at that point, I had worked in that firm basically for like 3 years, all of law school, most of law school, and then, while I was studying for the bar exam. So I would say about like 3 years as a law clerk.
Okay. And so before we go into like family law and discussing that just for the general public, when you say you went and started your own firm, you kind of just breezed over that. And being a law firm owner as well, yes. You, as well as those out there who own a business, period, understand that starting a business has nothing to do with being a lawyer. In fact, it is a completely apples and oranges situation.
Yeah.
And it is like climbing Mount Everest because law school does not teach us about business. It doesn't teach us how to run a firm. I don't know about you, but for me, it was really just like baptism by fire and just trying to figure it out, and a lot of expensive mistakes. People listening to this right now might be motivated to start a business or some side project or something. From that time when you launched that business during those first 3 years, which are usually the hardest, what advice would you give them from your personal experience in doing that right out of law school? Your plans fall apart, to get 3 years, 5 years of experience. What would be like the through line that you could impart with somebody who wants to launch a business?
Well, first I would qualify your statement by saying, or maybe it was my statement. I would say I started a law practice. I wouldn't even call it a business, because at that point, like a business is something that can run and survive without, I guess people can look at it different ways, but I look at a business like it has employees, it has systems, it has, all those things where it's a machine that can run. I definitely did not like start off with a machine that, has like reliable and predictable revenue and systems and all of those things. So, but starting a law practice is still basically just as painful. They don't teach you how to do it in law school. And so what I would say, everything just boils down to just don't quit. You'll want to quit. I wanted to quit 2 days ago, and I've had my, law firm going on like, 18 years, something like that, 16 years. So just don't quit. I think most people, they hit sort of a threshold and they quit because they're like, this is too hard. I can't make it. I'm not going to break through. It's too hard. It's too painful. It's too scary. And so they don't ever break through. But what they maybe don't tell you at the beginning is like, there's always that threshold, no matter how, big you go, how much you scale, like you're always hitting thresholds. And, I think just don't quit.
Yeah. And just like to conclude that particular point, I don't know about you, but I never feel like, I know from the outside, success looks a certain way to people, but I don't ever feel like I did it. Yes, we're accomplishing goals, never. But I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Yeah. What did I get myself into?
Right. Yes, never. Yeah, but I think it's okay, but don't you think we need to be better about that, Gina? We need to celebrate like the victories along the way.
Good point. Yes, to celebrating the victories, 100%, because that's smelling the roses, right? Like, what are we doing this for? Like, let's stop and smell the roses and be like, damn, look what I did. Look what I'm doing. Right. And yes, it certainly still feels like free fall at certain points, or like, I'm going to give up. This is ridiculous. But we know we're not, because we don't.
Right. Yes, we know we're not, because we won't quit. We don't quit. We won't quit. But yes, I very much feel that deeply, that it's like, you're never there. It's like,
So now I want to pivot to the type of law that you practice, family law, which has forever and will forever be, marketable and popular and in demand. I talk a lot on my page about, and through the Empower with Gina, just about being empowered and making really difficult decisions. A lot of it having to do with self-alignment first, this, that, the other, which inevitably if people do this, causes self-reflection and then reflection on relationships, reflection on why did I marry this person? We now have kids, we have assets together, we have a home together. Should I divorce? We have dual incomes. Why would all of those kind of questioning? And so I do get a lot of people always asking me once they get to the point of divorce, if I know a lawyer. And, I'm always calling you. But what would you say, just for people listening who maybe are considering it or going through it, maybe the top 1 or 2 or 3 pointers that they should keep in mind from a divorce or a family law lawyer? And I know that's such a loaded question because everyone has such a different circumstance, but is there anything you could impart? Just, I wish people knew this.
Yeah. I wish people knew how hard it's going to be. I think throughout my career, I try to look at trends and patterns in order to be able to sort of refine how we're treating the clients, servicing the cases, and sort of always be upping our game in terms of like taking the burdens off the clients and really trying to make this less hard. But one of the patterns that I see over and over again is, when they start the divorce, they file or whatever, they feel so relieved and they're kind of like, okay, yes, phew, like the load is off. I'm on easy street now. Like I finally took the step to make the decision. And what I have seen over and over again is like, that is just the beginning of the heartache, yes, like they kind of back to celebrating the small victories. If it's something they've been thinking about for a while, and it does take a whole lot of courage, and that's a huge thing. So yes, there is a sense of relief. There is sort of this sense of like, like taking a deep breath. Like I did it. I took the first step. I filed or I hired the lawyer. But what they really need to understand is like, we deal with highly contested like divorces. So you're looking at a couple years of really hard stuff. It's time consuming. It's expensive. It's nerve wracking. It's triggering in every way. It will require more patience than you've ever even know you should have. Like all of those things, the process itself. Now, it's like you've got to go through the process to really like strike gold on the other end so that you can you can redesign a life that you love and that is in alignment with you and your values and like all the things that you were missing. So like, I would say in most cases, like the process is absolutely worth it, but you've got to have realistic expectations about how hard going through a divorce actually can be.
Right. And that, as we know, will oftentimes keep people in marriages, especially when kids are involved. And they choose to stay in relationships. Again, I'm talking specifically about that person that's in a relationship with someone that they know they don't want to be there. They know in their gut. Yeah. But because of what you're saying, they understand like it's scary, it's hard, it's expensive. What if my kids, that. And that is an absolute real risk. So I appreciate you really sharing the reality of it. Because again, I talk about it and I'm like, yeah, well, pick your heart. Of course it's hard. I've done it. And and divorce, especially with children, is never over. The legal process is over, but it just takes on different iterations as everyone goes through life with children.
Yes.
So
absolutely. The issues are still the issues. And particularly when there are kids involved, they will show up, in various different ways. I used to say, Gina, when I was a little bit more naive than I am now, like, yes, you're going to have to deal with this until the kids are 18. And now I say, you will have grandkids together. You will go to weddings it never ends. It literally never ends. So, yeah.
Because a lot of people say that, well, you only have to deal with them till they're 18. There still are kids after 18. Yes. So that's a really good point. One more thing I wanted to ask you about, just from a woman's financial security and protection point of view, what would you advise women who maybe aren't in a divorce situation yet, or maybe thinking down the line somewhere? What piece of advice could you give them that they should start doing for themselves that could help the process?
Yeah, I would say in that particular situation, knowledge is power. Like, You have to, and I've been very, open and honest about this. Like, I am not a good example of this. Like, I have an amazing husband. He takes care of all the finances, and I basically turn a blind eye, and so don't, it's like my mom used to always say, like, what is it? Do what I say, not what I do. Yeah. And so, I'm not a good example of it. And I feel very sort of hypocritical when I say this, but intellectually, I know, like, women should really, you've got to know what the assets and debts of the marriage are. You've got to insert yourself into them so that you have the knowledge. Because, one of the biggest issues that we see is people hiding assets during the divorce. And if you don't have sort of a baseline knowledge of what's out there, like, do you know that there's cryptocurrency? If you don't know, we will never know to look for it, So it's like, if you want to prevent sort of a hidden asset type of situation, like, knowledge is power during the marriage. Plus, it's probably healthy for the relationship for both parties to be involved in that. It drives my husband nuts. He's like, let's sit down, let's talk about it. And I'm like, okay, yes. And he's like, I can already see you glazing over. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. Yeah, right. Yeah. But yeah, I would say, the more you know, the better off you will be in, if and when you do decide to dissolve that marriage.
Absolutely. And as far as like your particular firm, besides divorce, what other things do you specialize in that people might want to reach out to you about?
Yeah. So, custody, like parentage cases, baby mama, baby daddy situation. We do a ton of that where they had a child together. They were never married. Prenups. I absolutely love prenups. I think prenups are such a good idea. I think they're becoming more mainstream. People are recognizing they're not just for the ultra wealthy people. So we're doing more and more prenups all the time. And then, those are kind of the big things. There's, lots of little offshoots, domestic violence situations and things like that. But that usually still mostly involves like either a romantic relationship, like a marriage, or people that were together.
Right. And then one question, and just to conclude this, one question I get, which seems maybe kind of like, I'm sure you see this. People are like, we've been together in California, at least we're talking about, we've been together for X amount of years. We have assets together. We have kids together. Do I legally have to get a divorce? How do things get separated? Can you just quickly explain the difference and the meaning of having a legally binding marriage in the state of California versus not, and what that means?
Yes. So, yes. And I think we're going to see the situation more and more where they've been together forever. They've sort of entangled their lives together as if they were married, but they're not actually married. Because I think people statistically are, less people are getting married today than 40 years ago or whatever. From my perspective, I think without basically a civil contract, I think it's a dangerous situation to entangle your life with someone that you're not married to. And the reason why is because family law, if that relationship dissolves, family law is of no use to you. Like, you can't file anything in family court. It's not handled there. It's a civil action. And civil is sort of a little bit of a different game than family law. And you actually don't have all the same rights and protections in a civil court for all those things that you would have in terms of like in terms of the financial aspect. Obviously, the kids, that's going to be dealt with in family court. That would be a paternity action. But in terms of anything related to money, property, debts, anything like that, that would have to be a civil action. You don't have the same rights and protections in civil court as you do in family court. So it can get really messy. And so, yeah, and then it can also get messy in family court, I guess I should say, which is also why I'm such a huge proponent of a prenup, is because, it really tries to avoid all that mess, because you're deciding up front, what rules are we going to live by if we decide to entangle all of our finances and create a life together.
Right. Okay, I could keep talking to you forever, because as you're talking, I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? But that's for another time. I just wanted to use this moment to introduce you to my followers, the people that listen to my podcast, because I think, like you said, knowledge is power, and having access to a specialist, to someone with a license who does this particular kind of law is so valuable. So I'm going to include all your information in the caption. I encourage everyone to reach out to Holly if you have a question. Her office is incredible. We work with her. And Holly, I appreciate you. Like, really, you're just so cool, and you inspire me. And I'm like, oh, Holly's like up there, and I love it. You inspire me.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. I mean, the feeling could not be more mutual. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time, and I'll have a lot more questions.
Okay, I'll be ready.
Thank you. Bye-bye.